Hello, I'm Faye Waterman and this is Talking All Things Business. My guest today is Peter Hursey, and Peter is the property wellness doctor. Now, we've had a few sessions with Peter and we've talked about lots of different things. We've talked about environmental stresses, geomancy, emotional stresses, and many other things. And today, Peter's going to put all this together. Welcome, Peter, and thank you for your time.
Morning, Faye. Pleased to be here.
It's always good to have a conversation with you, Peter. Now, we've talked about all these different stresses, the environmental, the natural, all those sorts of things. Now, let's talk about overall what you actually do, why you do what you do, and how you can help people and the benefits of helping others.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe we go back to the start there and why I do what I do. And basically I ended up with chronic fatigue 20 odd years ago and had it for half my life, and I didn't start to get well till I discovered dowsing and geomancy. And 3 years ago I chucked my job in, my paying job, to do what my life's dream was, and realised I've still got to make an income in doing that as well. But it's all about helping people and sharing these gifts that I've been given, so that more people out there that have got long-term health issues or emotional issues of one sort or another know there's people like me out there that can help them get from A to B, even if the current medical profession has basically given up on them, or they're not really getting anywhere. So,
how did you discover what you were doing? What was it that made you discover the art of geomancy? Is it? And it's more than that though, isn't it? What was the thing that made you discover your ability to be able to do what you do?
Yeah. Well, I'm an Aries, and I can dig my heels in when I want to, and I'm just not going to be sick. I'm not going to be unwell, and I wasn't going to put up with having chronic fatigue. So for me, going on a search, on a mission to try and find something to get me well and work out possibly why I got to that situation in the first place. And I discovered all sorts of things. I did Reiki and Qigong and meditation and all those sort of things. And when I came across, I was doing some Qigong actually, and the same company that was teaching the Qigong actually put up a course on basic dowsing. So I had a bit of a look at it and grabbed it, and I've run with it since. And that's a very basic starting point, and I just keep adding to it as I learn, and I find new people to learn across everyone who comes across my path. Basically, I learn something from, or look at something slightly differently. So what I do now doesn't even resemble the way I originally learnt this sort of stuff. So I think what I bring to the table is that I look at things differently, so I can see the opportunities in things. So I think I put a post up the other day, that which has form is limited by form. So which basically means if you do a particular style of something, then you're limited by the rules that govern that style. Whereas I don't have those boundaries. I grab whatever works from wherever and put it into what I do. And if I find something better, put that one in my toolkit in case I need it later and move forwards.
It's a bit like taking your blinkers off and using the opportunities that come to you, isn't it? And you said you learn from everyone that you come across, and there'd be lots and lots of different learnings from everybody, and some quite interesting learnings. What is something that you remember that really sits out for you, how you've helped somebody who's not been in a good place?
Yeah, just so many, Faye. But
anyone in particular, or anything in particular?
Yeah, well, it's nice to be able to look at a site. Someone comes to me with an issue, and I can actually look at the site and say, I know why all these things are happening. I can pull the pieces together, and it's the instability or whatever's going on the land that's actually just triggered all of that. was actually talking with a lady the other day, and she's got some problems with her children, and I traced it back to the school that they're going to, and I could find all the old Aboriginal energies and things that are going on at the school, which is actually causing all this disruption that they're bringing home with them. So we've cleared the school and cleared the girls and cleared their house and treated their house. So we've set some more foundations up, and the mother's reported back that the girls are now engaging with her again. It's like she's talking to a different being again. Cleared all the stuff that wasn't her daughters, I suppose.
And those different energies come from lots of different places, don't they? And it's not just immediate, it is passed down generations. So talk about a little bit about the types of things that can affect a home that we live in that we're not aware of. And sometimes, you know, we get sick for lots of different reasons. And some of that is we create our own disease, not disease. But there are things in our environment or under the ground that also come to the fore that will assist in creating that dis-ease as well. Yeah,
so there's things that will affect our mental health as well as our physical health, and some of them are earthly, as in earth energies that are already there, or they can be events that have happened on the land, or they can be things like stuck wandering spirits or ghosts and things that are about, and just not knowing where they are and needing some help moving on, and dragging the energy of the place down. So, and then you add on all the layers about all the stuff that man causes as well. You know, we've got Wi-Fi and we've got cell towers up there, and the things that we do to our environment. Some of these earth radiations come up because we've disturbed the land. So things like fracking or just earthwork, someone building a house beside you where they're doing some major earth disturbance, you know, a rock hammer or something going, can upset streams in the area, and that creates a geopathic stress, which is a frequency and a radiation that's coming to the surface, and it's undermining your health. So, you know, these things don't generally cause cancers and things, but they lower our immune system, and over a period of time it leaves us open to picking up especially long-term sort of stuff. Things like mental health, sometimes you can just move on to a property and there's phenomena like vortexes where ley lines cross, and someone who's susceptible to that sort of thing anyway, they move on to that property, and within a day or two they've changed, their personality has changed, they're going down in a downward spiral, and they've got no understanding as to why. Their family doesn't understand why is this lovely person changed, and they're, you know, going off down the drug path, or sometimes they get violent. It's like you're dealing with different people, and a lot of the stuff's brought on by where you're actually living and breathing, and sometimes even the places that you work. And when I'm looking for a client too, if I can't find something major in their house, then I've got to think, well, where else do you frequent? Is there a particular place you go to, like a school or whatever, and their place of work? And sometimes you've got to look a little bit further to find what's going on. But I've got the gift now in knowing lots of things to look for. And with dowsing, it's about asking questions and having a knowledge base to ask those questions about. So when I dowse a property, I ask all those questions about that property, and that tells me what's going on. I can tell whether people have been sick there for a long term. I can tell whether things have happened there in the past, or whether it's a happy house. The house coughs it all up, Faye, and they can't hide much from me. And it's amazing the people that just seem sinking down in their chair and think, where did you get this information from?
How do you know that? It's a bit eerie, it's a bit spooky, isn't it, when someone comes into your house, a stranger, complete stranger, and then does this, I suppose it's an assessment, because that's what it is, looking at the house and the surroundings and whatever's under the ground and whatever you do. And I to this day, I still don't understand it, but I actually appreciate what you do. It'd be quite scary for some people who are skeptical. How do you get around that in getting them to understand? I was going to say believe, but they need to understand first before they believe.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I've come from too. You know, I've had an engineering background, and I've been brought up in quite a religious family and loving, supporting family, etc. And so I've grown up with all these forms around me that's controlled the way I've done and seen things, and I've sort of popped out of that space now and look at things differently. But I actually had a guy the other day. I was talking to his wife, and the husband was quite skeptical. And I usually do a survey of the property from Google Maps, and I mark everything that I see, all the lines, and stick underground streams and things. And I take the owner through that survey. But when I actually got to the property, I took the husband who was not understanding what I did, and so I don't really even understand what I do. I just do it. But I was able to show him all those things on his property as marked on the map. He could experience it, and he could experience those energies change as I changed them there and then on the property. And I think, well, I actually gave him the map. I said, take me to that spot, and then he'd get somewhere near it, and I'd fine tune it with my dowsing rods, and actually then we'd actually see it, and not necessarily see it, but he could see the reaction on the dowsing rods, and it was pretty much as per the map. So sometimes you can win people over by actually doing that demonstration, and often take my clients, I usually clear all the yucky stuff from a property before I get there, or just as I get there, and then I can take the owners out so that we can have a bit of a feel around and see the changes in the property as it goes.
And you also say with gardens or plants or things that grow, there are certain areas where you'll have a row of trees or shrubs or something, and they'll all be growing, but there'll be this particular one that doesn't grow. Explain that.
Yeah, so often those lines marked on the map will actually be shown in nature when we get there. So there will be a gap in the trees, or you'll find a tree with a burl or something on it, like a tree cancer, or you'll find some stunted growth in that particular area, or there might be a bare patch of ground with completely different flora on there. So different sorts of plants actually love some of these stresses that basically kill us. So when you know what to look for, you can actually see, sometimes you can see them from way away. You can actually look across the paddock and you can see, yeah, okay, that's where I've got to go and treat over there. And when you actually get there, you can see that the vegetation is different. And sometimes the fauna is different too. You'll find that there's ants. There'd be a bull ant's nest or something where some of the lines cross, or a wasp's nest or a bee's nest. Sometimes I think crows, and there's a few other birds that don't mind the stresses either. So yeah, just looking at it from a distance and walking up. Sometimes also, you know, there's physical signs in the man-made structures as well. You'll find cracks in concrete or in the road where the underground streams or the stress lines cross the curb, etc. And you can see if there's an underground stream, you usually find 3 lines with an outside edges and the centre line being cracks.
Right.
So yeah, it stands out, and you can show the people that.
Yeah, and what about the ants? Because that kind of fascinates me. You know, you have a row of ants that just march across this specific area. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think we talked in one of our previous sessions that the Romans built most of the roads in Europe, and they found that they could march further in a day if they marched over the underground streams that caused the stress. So they had people like myself mark where the roads go, so then the soldiers would walk over them, and because of all the moisture coming to the surface from the stress, they could march further in a day without getting fatigued, and their armies were more efficient. And the same things happen with ants. They tend to march often on the stress lines because it's easier for them. Yeah, so they're like a little army, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose they are like a little army. Tell me a little bit about you and why you enjoy doing what you do. What is it?
It's nice to enlighten people.
Yeah, okay, enlighten them. But when you get someone who's a little bit skeptical and doesn't understand, and you take them out and you show them, what's the feeling or the emotion for you when they start to understand and realise that you actually can help them? Yes,
sometimes overcome with emotion sometimes, Faye. I'm a bit of a huggy, sort of teary sort of person. And often people come over and just give me a big hug. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sort of welling up now, actually, that sometimes that you've given someone hope. They've been sick for so long, they've got no idea what brought it on. They've been in for treatments and then they've been put straight back on the stresses that brought their illness on in the first place. And they've got no idea how they're going to get from A to B. They're stuck in this loop. And they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing day after day and expecting something to change. But they haven't had anything that's actually popped into that loop to actually change that. And sometimes I'm the catalyst for that change. So you can see the hope in the people, and even with the placebo effect, people have got hope again, and sometimes that'll help them get well as well.
So you make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, definitely. And part of what I do is it's not just about fixing a few properties. It's for me to get the word out there that there are other people like me out there that can help. We need someone like me in every town, or everyone needs some sort of access to someone like myself.
But you can work
just so they can get this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but you can also work remotely, so you can work anywhere in the world. All you need is a map, which you then do your work on to see where all the stresses and all that sort of thing are, and then you go back to whomever it is that you're going to be working with to talk to them about that and show them, so that they then have that understanding of why they've been in the situation that they've been in for such a long time. And
we can give them the answers, and yes, I can work all over the world. I've actually got a lady I'm helping in Ireland tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock my time, so you've got to work around the world with different time zones. But yeah, I can help you anywhere in the world. But once the word gets out, there's going to need to be more than just me out there.
Yeah.
Because I'm just not going to be able to keep up with the actual demand, I would suggest. Well, I hope. I'm hoping more and more people come on board with this stuff, because there's people been doing what I do, or the basics of what I do, for centuries.
Well, it goes
We've
back.
lost a lot of that stuff. A lot of it's been hidden or buried for some reason.
The dowsing's been going on for centuries and centuries, hundreds of thousands of years, hasn't it? The dowsing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
if you actually look at the sorry, Faye, you go.
No, you've added things to it. You've added some other skills to it to improve on how it all works. The basis is the dowsing, but the other skills that you have been built on top of that to be able to create the awareness of how you can make a difference in someone's property, someone's life, their health and well-being. And not only that, you actually work with alternate health practitioners too, who find that they are struggling to help someone get better. So they call upon you to go and help them with that by going into their home and looking at the stresses and everything in their home, and then they go back to the practitioner, and there's some changes that have happened in that process. Is that
Yeah,
right?
definitely, Faye. Yeah. More with the alternative practitioners. A lot of the traditional practitioners are stuck by their form. They're stuck by the system that they work in, and they can't sort of step outside that without getting slapped. But yeah, I do work with a few of the alternative health practitioners, and they say, Pete, I'll fix them, send them home, they're broken again, please go down and fix their house for me. And then they start to make steady progress with what's been affecting them. If you don't have those foundations for your health, you got where to work from. And so what I do is I also discovered over the last 12, 18 months how to deal with the emotional sides of things energetically. So once we get the foundations of your house sorted, then we can help you with all the emotional stuff that you're carrying, all the bricks in your backpack from the yellow brick road. We talked about it in an earlier session, that are actually holding you back from moving forward. And a lot of your injuries and things or ailments are related to some sort of stress that you've encountered somewhere back in your distant life, whatever that form may be. So we can go back and find that stuff and get rid of all those little butterflies from the butterfly effect and help you move forward, even if we don't know what it is. we can still help you move forward and dissipate that stuff and raise your consciousness along the way. Yes, Faye?
It's a bit like, you said you work with people with injuries as well, and those injuries have a meaning. You injure yourself when you're doing something, but there's also something other than the injury that's made it occur. Am I on the right track there? Talk to me more about that, because it fascinates me.
When your consciousness changes and you actually start to be able to listen to what's going on around you rather than being stuck in the little paradigms that we've been brought up with, you see the world quite differently. And let's just think about how I describe this. It's keep talking for a sec, Faye. I just need to think about this for a second.
Well, I said to you that I because I'm moving and I picked some heavy things up and I'd injured my arm, and you said, well, that also, by doing what I was doing, also is holding on to things, not wanting to let them go. So it's quite interesting that you don't think about that. You just think about the injury and how it keeps you awake, or how it aches during the day, or whatever goes on with it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you got me back on track now. So often the way the world works, and if we actually go back to the basic universal laws, I believe that we're actually here to learn lessons. And if we don't learn those lessons keep getting put in front of us all the time. Some of these injuries and things that happen to us, that bully that comes into our life, or a house gets washed away, or whatever it may be, there's usually a lesson behind it there for us if we can stand back and look at it and get it in perspective. And even if we don't consciously work out what that lesson is, if we can energetically work out what it is, we can then park that, move forward with that one already ticked off and the learnings from it to help us move forward and sort out the next part of the puzzle. So does that make sense, Faye?
Yeah, it does. And I think we tend to get stuck in different things or different parts of our life. And as you said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, don't expect it to change, because you've got to step out of that loop, as you said before, step out of that loop and start making the change to make so that things will change. Don't expect anything to change if you're not willing to make those changes. And I think that brings me to a question of, people have to be willing to work with you. They have to be willing to put all their negative thoughts or whatever they're thinking aside and allow you to show them how it really works.
Yeah, I'm not a person that's a one treatment person. It's a matter of working with me for a period of time to slowly bring you up to a point. So you go forward 2 steps, back half a step, and we try and bring you forward, and you get to know the signs of when you've been onto a property that you pick something up, or it's taking you back a couple of steps for one reason or another, and know the signs, and then work with me to then clear that, and then move the next barrier from you, and keep you moving along the way. And when I go back to my past and look at when I got chronic fatigue, I was a very fit person, did lots of sports and bits and pieces. Not very talented, but I used to enjoy being fit and healthy, and sailing and sailboarding and all that sort of stuff. And I look back probably only a year or so ago, and I'm thinking, geez, I've actually been mourning a life that I had 20 years ago, and the life I've had since then has actually been pretty good. And when I look back, I wouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing now if I kept on that path. The universe has chucked that roadblock in front of me to make me pivot. I think it's the current term, isn't it? Made me pivot and change my direction and take a segue. There's another buzzword. Take a segue off in a different direction to
make the changes
to do my life's mission.
Yeah,
and if you don't learn that and make those steps, then that universe puts it in front of you again. And I had some bullying stuff happen to me in the workplace as well. And now I can look back and think, well, that was where I chucked my job in. that was where I actually needed to be doing what I'm doing now and teaching and fixing people's land and properties and doing it full time and investing that time into that rather than into a place that was taking me backwards.
And do you ever see...
whilst it hurt at the time, when I look back at it now, it was a step for me getting to this place.
Yeah.
Sorry, Faye.
And do you ever see any of those people that you used to work with, or the person that bullied you or anything like that these days?
No. They're just another stepping stone along the way. There's a few people I might touch base with, but once you change your vibe, you don't want to be going back into that same vibration again. And when you're in a negative place, those people are still in that negative place. Mm-hmm. And the hand's always out there to give them a hand up, but you put the hand out, but they've got to accept the hand as well. Sometimes they're not ready for it. They're not ready for it at this stage.
That's right. So how do you educate people? You do some training. What sort of training do you do for people to have a basic understanding of how they can help themselves as well? Talk about your training.
Yeah, okay. So there's three main areas that I work in. So environmental stresses, and then the emotional stresses, and the third one is about sharing the gifts that I've got and helping other people along their path as well. So I've had a course that I've done for a few years now, which is I call Foundations for Energy Mastery. And people wanted me to teach them geomancy, but you're dealing with some pretty yucky energies on properties that not everyone can deal with or manage. It's just not good for them, or they're not ready for it yet. And it's been a school of hard knocks for me. So I said I wouldn't teach that, but I'll teach people what they need to know to move forward in their path. So the Foundations for Energy Mastery, which Faye did the one-day course in 2 hours before she had to hop on a plane.
I did. It was good too. It was good.
But I get people to touch and feel energy and use their mind to control energy, and we teach some advanced Qigong healing techniques, not as teaching people to be healers, but to actually get the sensations in their hands and actually feel all these things that are actually around them that they're switched off to because their senses are saturated with other stuff. So we do that, and we also teach people to use dowsing rods and ask questions against the scale of consciousness from Dr. David Hawkins, and that allows us to pick our teachers and the courses that we want to do and ask questions to make our path heading in the right direction for us. So yeah, a course might be good for you, but the teacher might not be. So therefore you need to find the right teacher with the right course, or that pathway might not be very positive for you at the moment, but it might be down the track. So some roadblocks that are in your way at the moment, are there a timing issue? So sometimes people call it procrastination, but I call it a time of manifesting, moving around an object or getting the best way past.
When the time's right, it will present itself. That's sort of basically it, isn't it? And I mean, you can be ready to do. I always say that there are a lot of people out there, business owners, who have so much knowledge and so many skills that they are not actually using. What they're doing is they're searching for more and more professional development when they need to use the skills that they actually have first. And then once they've used those resources to the max, they then need to go out and learn some more. But we tend to forget about all the skills and the knowledge and the wisdom that we have inside us, because we're always searching for that shiny object which we are hoping will bring us something better. But it doesn't necessarily, does it?
You hit on a fair point there, Faye. It's a lot of people have knowledge, and a lot of our education system gives us knowledge, but they don't necessarily give us the understanding. And that understanding is putting that knowledge into practice. That's I think where the gap is, and I think in the training that we've done is the knowing doing gap.
Yeah.
And you can go and do another course, but if you still haven't put the last course into place and you haven't understood it, then you've probably already learned what you need to know 2 courses back, but you still haven't put it into place. So what's the barrier between you doing that? Is some sort of fear or something, past life or whatever, that's actually in your way for you picking that up to move forward. So as I think it's said that when the student's ready, the teacher arrives.
That's true.
And here I am. If you're ready, come. But that said, Faye, I teach that. I teach the touching, the feeling, and letting people know that they can actually do this stuff themselves. It's not me being involved at all. I do that in a one-day session. And I'm actually on the board at the moment. I've got 4 levels of geomancy. I'm actually going to start teaching geomancy, but just in a dipping the toe in the water sort of stage, so to teach people the basics about doing their own house, and then moving on to things like earth acupuncture and quantum cures and distance and space clearing sort of further down the track as people develop their skills, and having someone like myself and others, if they can find them, as a mentor to support them along that process. My thoughts so far with the geomancy is to get it online, but also do a few local courses here in Tassie to kick it off, and maybe film some of those. And so that therefore with COVID and some of the other restrictions, then we can actually still get the stuff out around the world. So yeah, we've got to deal with what we've got in front of us at the moment. But the idea is to do a one day in a classroom where we actually look at a little bit of theory, and then we actually go out
hands-on
on site and actually find all hands-on, a little bit of theory, hands-on, theory, hands-on, and maybe get a couple of houses for the second day, and maybe a couple donated for a charity cause. Someone who really needs some help with their house, and then we'll go as a group, go and do 2 houses for charity, and then they can learn the basic skills, and they can take them home and then have a play with their own house and sing out if they need help. That's the plan at the moment, and the other ones will be done down the track. So.
Good. And I think
people are starting to come into my life at the moment, help me to get the course together. So that's great.
Fantastic. I don't think there's anything else that I want to ask you, but it's been fun having a conversation about all of the areas that you work with and the people that you work with over the last few months. And I think that if anyone wants to work with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, well, I'm on Facebook, Property Wellness Doctor, Instagram, or you can actually find my website, www.propertywellnessdoctor.com, and there's a button on there to press to contact me, and I'm always happy to have a chat. I've got very, very, very reasonable rates. I'm here to help people in bulk, not just to help the privileged few. So it's a matter of sharing the gift and getting as many people helped as possible. So don't think you can't afford it. We always make it work. So yeah, especially a lot of people also, they're in a situation where their financial train's a bit derailed at the moment because of their health. So yeah, sometimes you need a little bit of a hand up, and then you can sort of pay things back later on down the track. So yeah, we'll give you a bit of a hand up and help things along the way. So don't call me because you think you can't. Have a little bit of self-worth and say, yeah, I deserve this, I deserve some help, and I think Pete can help me, so I'm there to help, and give me a call. Yeah, and what you said about it can't afford, I always say it's not about affording it, it's about prioritising what is necessary in your life. And it may not be right now that you are not able to do it, but down the track you will. So it doesn't necessarily have to be immediate. It can be down the track a little way before someone might approach you. But those that can, please do. I recommend that you have a conversation with Peter, because he is full of wealth and knowledge, and he can help you. Thank you, Peter, for your time. I'm Faye. Thank you, Faye. It's a privilege to have you in my life. You too. I'm Faye Waterman. This is Talking All Things Business, and we'll be back again. Go on to my Facebook page if you want to see any of these stories, and they're all available there. And it's bye for me for now. Enjoy the rest of your day.